At this remove, 8 decades later, it is a near impossible task to imagine the emotion of that day. The pride of being part of so great an enterprise.
An emotional morning in Portsmouth, where historical memories suddenly flared up more vividly than ever. Amid tears and sincere condolences, a story of sacrifice and courage was told, touching every heart. These moments not only remind you of a historic moment, but also contain surprises and touching things that you won't want to miss. But don't be shy, because it's not just you. Camilla and King Charles were visibly moved as they attended a D-Day commemoration in Portsmouth, where veteran Eric Bateman recounted losing his friend on Utah Beach 80 years ago. King Charles, recently diagnosed with cancer, insisted on attending and delivered a speech highlighting the bravery and sacrifice of the wartime generation. The event, hosted by Dame Helen Mirren, featured readings, musical performances, and tributes from various celebrities and officials, including Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Prince William. The ceremony concluded with a gun salute, the national anthem, and a flypast by the Red Arrows and Typhoon jets. In a solemn and emotional ceremony in Portsmouth, King Charles and Queen Camilla demonstrated a strength of spirit and profound compassion, leaving an unforgettable impression on the hearts of those in attendance. King Charles, despite his battle with cancer, remained steadfast and determined to attend, demonstrating his unwavering commitment to his duty. His speech not only honored the courage and sacrifice of the D-Day generation, but also inspired resilience and responsibility to current and future generations. Queen Camilla, with her sincere tears while listening to the story of veteran Eric Bateman, touched the hearts of many people. The empathy and respect she showed for the fallen showed a compassionate and understanding leadership quality. Behind those touching moments, we see solidarity and boundless gratitude to the heroes who sacrificed for freedom. Their presence, along with their meaningful words and actions, not only makes the ceremony special, but also reminds us of our responsibility to preserve and honor the legacy of those who have passed away. Before. The brave men and women remembered today must never ever be forgotten. I dread to think, if we ever went to war, how the young would react. Sadly, I feel most would run for the hills. National service should be compulsory for every 18-year-old to instill a sense of duty, discipline, and resilience that seems to be waning in today's society. It is through such rigorous training and shared experiences that young people can learn the true value of teamwork, sacrifice, and patriotism. This would not only prepare them for potential future conflicts, but also foster a stronger, more united community that honors and upholds the legacy of those who have bravely served before them. By mandating national service, we ensure that the spirit of dedication and commitment that characterized past generations continues to thrive, providing a solid foundation for the future of our nation. To be honest, I watched about half an hour of the program and was emotional at times. The disconnect of us today is as raw as it was from 1939 to 1945 to clear. But this is our chance to connect with a turning point in history and remember them all, to be thankful. You know, those that still remain have generally made it well known that they're frustrated and, in some cases, angered by what has been done to our country since. In some ways, I'm glad that they won't be around much longer to see how much worse things will become. Also, as I think, we owe a great deal to that generation, something that a lot of people in this country either don't know about or, even worse, take for granted. I'm sure a lot of them would be ashamed of what's happened to this country and wonder what they were actually fighting for. They deserve our full respect and appreciation for allowing us to live in a free world. At the going down of the sun, age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. They were an amazing generation bunch. I'm not surprised the Queen shed a tear. We have so much to be thankful for. Rest in peace for the fallen. It's not just me, it's all of us who were raised by this generation, and everyone should show them maximum respect for what they did for all of us. I grew up with paratroopers, artillerymen, infantrymen, and pilots, all of whom were plucked from obscurity to do magnificent feats of heroism, and most of them never said a word or expected a thing for their sacrifice. They lived the rest of their lives as well as they could, and have mostly all passed away with dignity and pride. I thank God that my folks were of that generation and raised me the way they did. May they all rest in peace. Truly, the soldiers were very brave. The war was a story of separation, and when I mentioned it, I felt a deep sadness in my heart. At that time, people didn't think that much. So many couples separate, children separate from their parents, and tears send loved ones into battle without knowing when they will return. In that context, the courage and spirit of sacrifice of the soldiers become nobler and more respectable than ever. They overcame personal fears, put aside worries and suffering to protect freedom and peace for future generations. It is those silent and resilient sacrifices that built history, and it is our responsibility to never forget the noble values they left behind. There was a sharing that touched me deeply, he said. I watched, full of emotion, for the brave men and women who gave their all. I wept for them and also for my dad, who married my mom and left the UK 1 week later with his battalion in March 1941. He was one of the lucky ones who did eventually return, but not until April 1946. The present generation doesn't know how lucky they are, or as my pa would have said, which side their bread is buttered on. Would they cope under similar circumstances, I wonder? Or another heartbreaking story, my late father lost his sight in the war at 27 years old. He never saw his wife, our mum, ever. He never saw his 2 children either. They met when she nursed him in a London hospital when he was invalided out in 45, to see that what war brings is disaster and loss. On the other hand, the question for today's young generation is whether they dare to fight and are willing to sacrifice for their country. What I am most certain of is that their stamina is very low now. They are living a modern and full life. Today's young are all about themselves, their pleasures, their demands, their standards of behavior, and regrettably their lack of respect for seemingly everyone and everything. It does indeed bring tears to your eyes. As much as I respected our late Queen Elizabeth, she never shed a tear until Royal Yacht Britannia was decommissioned, and I think when Windsor Castle went on fire, such a cold fish. I feel that Camilla is human and can show true human emotion. King Charles, too, can show emotion, and I find that so good. My granddad served in World War II, and I was told many accounts of his service and of families at home with Anderson shelters, air raids, and prisoners of war in Japan. Nazis. I'm 66, and I am forever grateful to those who died for my freedom. Yet I look at today and think, why? The 2 kings, current and future, always make Britons proud of them. And what a disgrace it is that we've let these incredible heroes down since. The country and been sold down the river, flooded with criminals, and scrounging whatever you can from the state is considered a sport by many. Standards are so low that it's pretty much impossible to get lower. The lead story earlier today was how a network of Turkish criminals are making a fortune out of supplying the UK. Junkies with heroin and hundreds more with no known identities will be assisted ashore to strip the country of its assets. We owe these men the most enormous apology for what has been allowed to occur. Besides, I've said this time and time again. When Queen Elizabeth II said she would like Camilla to become Queen Consort, she meant that rather than Camilla remaining a duchess as she had to when she was actually Princess of Wales, she would like her to take her rightful place beside the king, which is the Queen. Regardless of how people feel about Diana, the title belongs to the king's wife, and she is the king's wife. If Charles and Diana hadn't divorced and she were alive today, she would have been Queen Consort, and no one would have batted an eyelid. She'd just been known as the Queen. Maybe Camilla may have been crying in thanksgiving that her father returned home from World War II after serving in France, then Africa, where he was wounded and taken a prisoner of war. He escaped from captivity and returned as a decorated war veteran. Our mockery is similar to that displayed toward the Princess of Wales when she wears 3 poppies on Remembrance Day. They are in memory of her 3 maternal great-uncles who were killed in World War I. Both women have much to remember as we commemorate those who made the world free from Hitler. You may not share these sentiments, but many others do. Well, that's all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching our video, and I want to know what you think about these issues. Please express your opinion in the comments below. Hope you will always be cheerful and happy. Don't forget to support us by liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Goodbye, and see you again in the next videos.